Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about identity. Um, Now, the reason you guys are all so confused about identity is that you, whether you know it or not, are searching for an unchanging something. That's what I found. There's always exceptions to the rule, but those exceptions are not likely to disagree with me because they'll look around and go, "Yeah, that's the problem." People are looking for the unchanging something, and I say this with some confidence because having seen the philosophy on the matter, that is what they're looking for, unchanging something. That is what we're trying to identify. And they've got it all wrong. I mean, totally opposite. You need to look for the changing something. You need to identify the something that changes. Why? Because everything changes. So if you identify something that doesn't change, then you know it's not going to be real because real things all change, right? So it's simple. And you know, the whole idea that you never step in the same river twice. Well, that's just an error. You know, it's like when you prove that you can't cross the road because math says so, the logic, then you know you need a more sophisticated math. That's the way you check the boundary conditions on those things. Okay, it is the same river. The wave coming towards the shore, the tsunami that hit us, was from Japan. But the water, when it started, that it was in, that it consisted of, didn't come here. Some people actually were asking questions like that. No, but the pulse, the continuity. It's the continuity, it's the changing thing. You identify something that is still identifiable even when it changes. And one of the ways to do that is through material continuity, materialism. So the one problem with this is you lose essence, because essence is the word for the unchanging something. And suddenly, yes, it's true that qualities are just descriptions. You know, there is no essence. There's just systems that have certain characteristics for certain periods of time, and everything is mortal and limited. Those characteristics are limited. One system might be like a rodent at one point, and now it's an ape. Okay, and it's the same continuous system. You know, and the model for identity, now that we've found out everything, has to be like, why is it the same wave? I see a wave coming towards the shore and then it crashes on the shore. Why is that the same wave? You know, waves have identity. When you identify something, it's because of this continuity, and you can connect it materially or otherwise. More and more we use a material connection. Now, there is a problem with this, which is that quantum mechanics is there. And quantum mechanics says that everything's discrete, and there's a discontinuity. You know, billions and billions of discontinuities every microsecond. And so that presents a problem, because fine, we've defined our identity in terms of signal processing and ideas of continuity and making relationships. And we even allow ourselves some ad hoc heuristical rules if we want to state them explicitly, right? But we don't actually have continuity. Well, that's a problem. But not for long, because there is the conservation of energy. It appears that energy is conserved. And in a sense, there's a law of conservation that you can identify some things that have quantification. Quantification is conserved. You know, a certain amount of something gets spread out and moved around, but not destroyed, a sort of atomistic idea to these particular kinds of descriptions. Right? And the conservation of energy plus statistics is what allows us to have the illusion of continuity, which facilitates the invention of identification. And that's why you need a brain, you know, to do identification. You know, it takes energy to do identification. It's an invention, an identification. Without the brain, the concept of identification makes no sense, because things are just systems. They're blurry at the edge. They're trading molecules with their environment. It takes a human brain to say, well, that threshold at its surface, even though it's trading some, you know, the amount of interaction at that point between those two layers is different from the amount of action internally or with the external world, with itself. So we as brains can make those identifications. And we do so by basically signal processing, information processing on continuous information. Right? So without the changing, I don't think we could do an identification. The whole point of an identification is, look, John looks different. His hair is cut, but it's still John. That's the purpose of identification, is to ignore changes and say it's still the same immaterialism, the same physical entity.